A'udzubillah minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Arrahmanirrahim. Maliki yaumiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. An'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Shiratal ladzina Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. An'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim wa yassir umurana wa uqdatan min alsinatina yafqahu qawlana. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi washabihi ajmain. Good afternoon. Salam integrasi ilmu nakli dan akli. Salam ukhuwah everyone. I guess it is not too late to wish taqabbalallahu minna wa minkum salihul amal kullu am wa antum khair. Happy Eid Mubarak to all. Okay, I'm Dr. Fazil Rahim, your moderator for today, senior lecturer at the Islamic Science Institute, ISI, University of Science Islam Malaysia. We welcome everyone to the Islamic Science Lecture Series or Siri5 Science Islam, and it is our fifth year this year. Fifth lecture this year. Thank you very much to every one of you present here, following and watching or listening to us live, or will be joining us soon, or will be listening to us and following our recording of this. It's kind of different intro nowadays, right? During the pandemic and MCO, and doing series of lectures online. Okay, so if this lecture series is in Malay, there shall be some opening pantun for me. Instead, I'll save it for the rest. Okay. It is of our great honor for ISI this year to have had 4 lecture series already. 4 lectures already with iconic figuras and figuras that have shaped and molded and engraved the path for USIM, right? Especially ISI, to move forward for knowledge frontiers and making an impact with Islamic science research through integration of Nakli and Akli, reveal and acquired knowledge. And today, it will be a steeper climb to the pinnacle of the grand idea, and with the designers, especially for ISI and USIM, because with us, eagerly at sharing much is the renowned Professor Datuk Dr. Asma Ismail, our beloved thought leader, now President of the Academy of Sciences Malaysia, and formerly Vice Chancellor of USIM. Welcome, Prof. Datuk.
Terima kasih.
It is our honor to have you today, Prof. Datuk, and I felt it blessings to be here hosting this for today. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah.
Thank you.
So with us today together is the Director of ISI, Prof. Dr. Adnan Yusuf, Deputy Directors, Ustaz Muhammad Azzuddin Abdul Aziz and Dr. Nurliza, and the staff that have much to the anchoring this program. And thank you very much, everyone. A bit of reminder before I invite yang berbahagia Prof. Datuk, who I'm very sure eagerly awaiting to share. Please everyone quickly mute your microphones and switch off your camera to allow Prof. Datuk to be spotlighted throughout her lecture. You may post your questions on the chat panel so that I'll collect and reiterate them for Prof. Datuk to respond to at the end of the lecture, right? I shall introduce Yang Bagia Prof. Datuk by reading her short bio. Ladies and gentlemen, the renowned Professor Datuk Dr. Asma Ismail is a woman of many firsts. She was the first female vice chancellor of University Science Islam Malaysia USIM in 2012 and the first female vice chancellor of University Science Malaysia between 2016 and 2019, making her the first women to be appointed twice as the vice chancellor of a public university. She had served as the country's first female director general of higher education between 2014 and 2016, and is currently the first female president of Academy of Sciences Malaysia (ASM) between 2016 and 2022. She also serves as the first female to be the chairperson of the Malaysian Qualification Agency (MQA) between January 1st, 2019 and December 31st, 2021. Her current position is as the Ibn Sina Chair for Medicine at UIM, the chairholder through to 2022. She also serves as an honorary professor at the Institute for Research in Molecular Medicine (USM) and Associate Research Fellow at the Biotechnology Research Institute, University Malaysia Sabah. Her educational background includes having a BSc Biology from the University of Nevada, USA, MA Microbiology from Indiana University, USA, and a PhD Cellular and Molecular Biology from UNR. Her field of expertise in medical microbiology and medical biotechnology facilitated scientific discoveries in diagnostic biomarkers that have led to the attainment of 15 patents and commercialization of the rapid diagnostic test for typhoid called Typhoid, which was advocated by the World Health Organization (WHO). As a researcher, she has published more than 131 papers, received more than 213 awards and recognition, presented more than 435 papers, including 376 invited talks of plenaries and more than 48 keynotes, both at the national and international level. She was elected the Academy of Sciences Malaysia in 2003, the Academy of Sciences for the Developing World was in 2010 and the Islamic World Academy of Sciences in 2016. She was elected as honorary member of the Iranian Academy of Medical Sciences in 2017 and the following year as a member of the College of Fellows, Kiel University, and a governing advisory board member for Ritsumeikan Asia Pacific University, Japan. In recognition for her leadership in lifelong learning in the Commonwealth, especially for women, and her outstanding service to the advancement of higher education and science in Malaysia, she was conferred as Honorary Fellow of the Commonwealth of Learning in September 2019 and Honorary Scholar for IIASA, Institute for Applied System Analysis, Vienna, Austria, in November 2019. She currently serves as the selection panel for the Merdeka Award and Rhodes Scholarship to select Malaysians to Oxford University. In 2020, she was elected to be a board member of Commonwealth of Learning based in Vancouver, Canada. She also serves as a board member for CRESS, Collaborative Research in Engineering, Science and Technology Center, to move STI-based companies in the country since 2017. Her landmark contribution to Malaysia's higher education system include the establishment of the prestigious National Academic Award, Anugerah Akademik Negara, the establishment of research universities in Malaysia, and also in co-whelming the development and implementation of the Malaysian Education Blueprint, Higher Education 2013 to 2025. For her outstanding contribution and being an exemplary figure in the field of higher education, research, innovation, and policy on science and technology locally and abroad, she received an honorary Doctor of Science from the University of Glasgow in 2013, Indiana University's Thomas Hart Benton Mural Medallion in 2015, Honorary Degree Doctor of the University, Kiel University, and Honorary Doctorate in Literature from Kyoto University of Foreign Studies, KFS, in 2017, respectively. In May 2001, quite recently, She has been appointed by the Prime Minister of Malaysia to be a member of the National Action Council on Shared Prosperity Vision under the Distinguished Educator category. Right. So thank you very much to make some time for today's Islamic Science lecture from Dato. It's an SIC, sharing is caring session, and we call it to make it more of the shared prosperity we envision today together in Malaysia, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much to be those who are eagerly waiting. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inna fi khalqis samawati wal ard wa ikhtilafil laili wan nahari la ayatin li ulil albab الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار. Means surely in the creation of the heaven and earth and the alternation of the night and day are the signs of the people of wisdom, those who remember Allah, standing and sitting and lying on their sides, and who mediate thinking about the creation of heaven and earth, say, Our Rob, you have not created all this aimlessly without any purpose. Glory be to you. Guard us then from the punishment of fire. Ali Imran, verse 190 to 101. So, without further ado, ISI is honored to bring you Yang Mulia Prof. Dr. Asma Ismail with integration of knowledge in performing impactful research. The floor is yours, Prof. Dato.
Okay.
Tafadhal.
Terima kasih. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Terima kasih banyak Dr. Fazli for the kind introduction. I hope the lecture beats up to the requirements and I also would like to acknowledge the presence of Professor Adnan, the director for ISI, and also all the directors, the deputy directors of ISI, and distinguished lecturers, colleagues, and staff who still remember me. And also, it's great to be back again to touch base walaupun tidak secara fizikal dengan Usim. So let me now share the screen regarding the talk. Okay. Basically, the talk today is apt to what ISI, when I first arrived in Usim, I wanted to do something about how do you make sure that nama, apalah ada pada nama University Science Islam Malaysia, but what is it that people will be asking for? Where is the lambang yang menunjukkan Islamic science is the trust of the university following its name, and that is not just another Islamic university. We already have an Islamic university which is called UIA or IIUM. So basically that is one of the reasons why we went into Senate and set up ISI, and I hope that ISI can live up to its name. It's finding its way and hopefully can live up to its name in creating the kind of impact that is needed in order to move the university that the one that is actually trying to promote the integration of Nakli and Akli, right? So this is a talk on integration of knowledge in performing impactful research. Basically, when we talk about this particular lecture, I would like to touch base on these aspects. One is about COVID-19, how it changed the world, how the world does science and research. Then I'm talking about convergence of knowledge and some of the big pictures about what are the grand challenges that you are now going to see and face, expectations of universities and academics in the 21st century. And then we are going to bring you back to basic and ask you the question, what is the purpose of doing research? And talking now about impactful research and Malaysia's solution, basically towards impactful research with the 10-10 Malaysian STIE, Science, Technology, Innovation, and Economy and the Malaysian Grand Challenge Grant that we'll be talking about. And the last part, so that I still have an audience, is to perhaps suggest to USIM some of the research opportunities that USIM can look forward to. Now, let me begin by saying that COVID-19 pandemic has basically taught us many lessons and gaps that need to address and that need to be addressed fast. And the pandemic basically has taught us that in order to remain resilient, we need science to power our economy post COVID-19. And what's happening is that while political leaders basically locked their borders, we begin to see an enhanced global collaboration among scientists and also among non-scientists and among all the researchers in the global race to actually develop vaccines, diagnostics, as well as therapeutics. And we see scientists now showing shared responsibility by repurposing their labs to better understand the virus. And we see engineers repurpose their design and production facilities to supply the much needed personal protective equipment. One word that needs to remember, we are now out with silo mindset, silo thinking, silo working, and the key word now is collaboration. And we also now begin to see enhanced sharing of information and knowledge, and you begin to see where personal KPIs basically was set aside and information was shared on the fly via Zoom or via online repositories to make studies and discoveries available for the world to read months ahead before the actual paper is being reviewed or is being published. And so we see now social responsibility takes the front line since an outbreak because of the fact that an outbreak anywhere is a risk everywhere, right? An outbreak anywhere is a risk everywhere. So basically, it's not like you protecting yourself only in Malaysia, but if there is an outbreak in Africa, it's going to hit us soon enough. So an outbreak anywhere is a risk everywhere. So, what is more important, therefore, is to come up with a solution for everyone, not just a solution for your country, but a solution for everyone. And the way to achieve that is to collaborate in order to design and develop the people's vaccine, the people's diagnostics and therapeutics, all against COVID 19. And what you're seeing now is that during a crisis, when the world faced with a crisis, suddenly H index citations were all out of the window. And what is important now is outcome or impact, right? And this is more important than outputs because publications, etc., they're just outputs of knowledge. But impact is what people are now looking for and what people are asking science to now give solution to this COVID-19. So the feeling of shared responsibility or values now is so strong and becomes stronger so that whatever information shared can now help scientists worldwide to act faster. So in times of crisis, this is the bottom line that for you to actually see. It is result or key KRI, key result indicator. That is the one that matters. And suddenly now the world is seeing that science is now seen as a global public good. And for future pandemic preparedness, because this pandemic COVID-19 is not the last one, we're going to face more pandemics in the future. Already science is showing us that there are a lot more viruses out there and zoonotic diseases and the transmissibility from the animals to the humans is going to happen, and predictability by artificial intelligence also is showing that we're going to get more pandemic due to upper respiratory infection. And so for future pandemic preparedness, we now know also that STI alone it will not allow resilience, all right? So we need to work in an integrated and collaborative ecosystem and no longer in silos. So, and even now, the way government Malaysia is tackling the pandemic, we have MKN. So basically, this Majlis has got all the various ministries together, the agencies together, all now providing help to KKM and also making decisions together. So this is what we call as whole government approach and whole societal approach. Because if the government says MKN, we say MCO, and the people do not follow, and we continue to have increased cases of COVID. So this is what we mean by we need also whole societal approach for any policies to actually work. So we need a strategic and systematic integration of science, technology, religion, arts, humanities, along with innovation, entrepreneurial, and global mindset in order to adequately meet the challenges of the 21st century. So basically, we need to work together to provide solutions for humanity and no longer about how each discipline can now provide solution. It's no longer about how medical can provide the solution or how engineering can provide the solution or how Quran and Sunnah can provide the solution. It's actually now providing solutions for humanity but working together in an integrated and collaborative manner. So in short, the complex global issues require an integrated ecosystem to connect the dots and provide solutions that can now create a sustainable change. And to connect the dots, basically, we must have convergence of knowledge from the sciences and other disciplines. So perhaps this is a little way to understand what we mean by convergence of knowledge. If you want to make salad, these are the ingredients of salad, let's say, yeah. So these ingredients of salad is each discipline. Let's say all these tomato, capsicum, the salad, all these are individual discipline. But if you now break all this and put it into a bowl, this is called multidisciplinary, right? Where multidisciplines, they come together, they work together, but the individual discipline remain intact. Faham? You sometimes the apa university ask you guys to work together. Yeah, you work together on a project, but each discipline still remain intact. Masing-masing ingin buat dia punya sendiri-sendiri, right? But we just bound together on a plate, on a cluster, for example. But when you start to now go to interdisciplinary, all right. So when we start to go to interdisciplinary, this is where now we begin to see a dissolving of discipline boundaries by looking for common themes across the discipline that can serve the higher order learning objective. And this include the thinking skills, the problem solving, and decision making. Let's say if you want to make curry, all the ingredients of curry have now, individual ingredients have now melted to what we call curry, but still there are distinctiveness like the fish is still seen. Okay. Now, the best kind is transdisciplinary, whereby what it takes here is like a piece of cake, whereby all the ingredients like sugar, the flour, the eggs, everything are individual items, but when we make it into a cake, you no longer see any of the discipline, right? So the idea of transdiscipline means beyond all discipline, but connected to the discipline by a unifying issue. Let's say we want to now approach a problem like hunger and poverty, right? So when we want to reduce the inequity divide, we all work together in the kind of thinking that we want. So that is transdisciplinary. Okay. So basically, what then is expected of academics? So being in USIM, I don't have to remind all of you, probably you can remind me better. But let me quote what Prophet Muhammad SAW says that when a man dies, his deeds come to an end except for three things. Sadaqah jariyah, a knowledge which is beneficial, or a virtuous descendant who prays for the deceased, right? Basically, what we are saying here is that can you see this knowledge which is beneficial? It doesn't mean just simply leaving the world with a lot of knowledge, but what have you done with that knowledge? That as long as that knowledge has not been made into beneficial, it is not yet good knowledge. So as academics, so if you see all these three, I guess academics in USIM and also people around the world, we are more fortunate because we have the ability to deliver all three. We are in the position to generate knowledge that is beneficial, which happens to be the core business of academics. So as the Khalifa, everyone is a leader with the responsibility to lead humankind to the right path. But as a Khalifa and an academic, we are all leaders in our own micro environment. So the question is, how now? You see, not every core business can be in the position to create knowledge which is beneficial. But we are in that position because it's part of our amanah. So how do we now generate knowledge that is beneficial? So to do that, we need to understand what are the challenges and we need to understand what is the big picture. Because sometimes you live in your own micro environment and sometimes leaders of the university, which is also not at the national level, the tendency is very high that if the leaders are not at the national level, then the people in the university also do not have any idea about what's going on at the national level nor at the global level. So basically, the role and expectations of universities in the 21st century is not just about the generation of knowledge, nor the and dissemination of knowledge, but it's also about the translation of knowledge. What value have we created through innovation and through entrepreneurship? And these solutions that we provide must be through real world experience. We're not talking about solutions just in the lab. Can you bring that solution now to benefit the village, to benefit the city, or to benefit the area of Nilai, for example. And universities are expected to be the engine of growth for the nation via commercialization of R&D and development of knowledge-based enterprises. And of course, in terms of teaching and learning, we are supposed to train innovators of tomorrow with a curriculum that creates entrepreneurs to participate in startups and graduates that are job creators rather than job seekers, but job creators with values, and graduates that are good citizens and nation builders and care about humanity. And also to empower talents to be action oriented leaders who deliver solutions to ensure sustainability of change. Nampak? With all that requirement, this is a tall order for all universities. And a lot of the time, this is the true north of the university. But a lot of the time, sometimes when you move into rankings and you're very single minded into that kind of world, the tendency is that the university lost its direction and no longer believe in the true north. So, what then is the big picture? All the grand challenges that we need to see and face, right? So in the new era demands new education and new paradigm. Gone were the days of hunter-gathering with agricultural age. They have gone now into industrial age. And we are now in Malaysia based on knowledge-based economy. But the world is no longer is not waiting for Malaysia. The world is already moving to bio-green economy and finally moving to the humanization economy. And that's why we call education 4.0 humanization of education, right? So basically, the future, if you now go, is about wisdom, it's about moral, it's about spiritual. The future concentrate on outcome or impact to humanity, which is KRI, rather than just output, which is KPI. So basically, the future is asking for injection of soul and values in the things that we do. So if that is the case, it should be a piece of cake for USIM, right? Because that should be your bread and butter. So basically, even if we now say with in being an Islamic university as well, you need to also now ask the question: how can you help now with the Muslim world? So if you look at the economic disparity among the Muslim nations, right? You see all this GDP per capita, and you see Malaysia as an upper middle income country where there are so many poor countries and the high income like Bahrain, Brunei, Kuwait, Oman, and Qatar. Basically, we have to ask this question: can we help in Malaysia help OIC compete in the new economy by training its future generation? So, and if we are going to say so, are we equipping them with knowledge and skills to become agents of change? I ask this question especially of universities that have a lot of students from the OIC, and especially like USIM or like UIA or like UNIZA. And these are the three Islamic universities in Malaysia. And the question that I would like to ask is that are you training the foreign students from all these OIC countries with knowledge and skills to become agents of change when they now go back to their country? Are you just teaching them same old, same old? So this is an amanah that you need to pay attention to, right? And not just take it very lightly regarding the amanah that is now on your shoulder. So if you look at the funding to drive the R&D or RNI for the OIC countries, you see that the whole funding, yeah, is 0.41 compared to world at 1.78 or EU at 1.76. I mean, this data is 2012, and you cannot find a much more updated data And basically, all this is below, sorry, is very much below 1% GDP. You must understand why 1% GDP. 1% GDP for R&D is very important for other countries to come in and actually invest in that country, because it means that if a country can set aside 1% GDP for research, that means the country is serious about its research. If the country is lesser than 1% GDP, a lot of people will also say that maybe this country doesn't have the kind of high-end skill that they need in order to invest in that country. So Tunisia in 2012 is about the only country that have met the target, but Malaysia have moved since then in 2012 at 0.63% to 1.04% in 2019. And in RMK12, we are going to move to greater than 2.5%. And I hope that this becomes a reality and not just a fantasy. So with the if you can see this picture with the low commitment to R&D, can we actually transform the socio-economic well-being of the Ummah? So this is the question that perhaps we need to see as well. And perhaps maybe it's not necessary for you to go so far, to go to the OIC. Let's talk about Malaysia. Yeah? So there are many poor and marginalized children that grew up without clean water, without electricity, no internet. This is in Malaysia itself, going to schools that lack teachers and with parents that did not complete secondary schools. So what about their future? Who will champion them and believe that they too deserve a better future? So this is now talking about research, doing things that matters, right? But what matters here is that this is an intangible that you cannot count. See, a lot of the times KPI are measurable outputs that you can count. But doing something that matters is an intangible thing, but is something that you cannot count, but is something that is very important. So to me, R&I cannot be just about knowledge generation and publication. It has to result in societal and industrial transformation. So the question that we need to ask is, how do we create balance to our amanah, as a lecturer? How do we create balance between tangible outputs and impact or intangible outcomes? So these are the questions that we need to ask. And if that is the case, then there is a point for us now to mainstream into the university the KIP, which is key intangible performance, into R&I. So basically, you need to have a balance of KPI, key performance indicator, plus KIP, key intangible performance, in order to create impact. So if that is the case, maybe we should now go back to basic. What is the purpose of why anyone wants to do research, right? Basically, it is to generate new knowledge, not to generate old knowledge, but to generate new knowledge. And therefore, to do that, we need to perform R&I. So research is therefore done to enhance innovation and provide solutions that threatens humanity. So most, if not all, lecturers are motivated by the fact that, before you die, before you close your eyes, finally, you would like to make a difference in the world. That would be a dream, right? But to make that difference is basically to create an impact. And one way that you can create an impact is to provide solution to the SDGs or to provide solutions to the Ummah, right? And how we do this? We can do this by injecting research, basically values, research values, so that the R&I outcomes are meant for public good. So as we move to humanization age, and lessons learned from COVID, kalau tak belajar lagi lah, taught us that basically we need to now, when we do research, the outcome that we do, the kind of results that we produce, must place emphasis on human values and human life, actually, democracy, social justice, inclusion, reduction reduce the inequity divide. Okay, so in short, right, the Islamic things of having sympathy, empathy, compassion, right, basically to make a difference, needs to be there for SDGs and also for the Ummah. So to do that, we need to basically collaborate and work together in a multidisciplinary or transdisciplinary manner by integrating science, technology, arts, and humanities to provide basically a holistic and dynamic solution to humanity. And to do that, we need to collaborate and undergo convergence of knowledge when producing solutions to problems of humanity. And that basically is in line and also aligned to the shared prosperity vision 2030 of the country. And basically, the shared prosperity vision also requests that knowledge needs to be transformed. Yeah? Knowledge should not just remain in publications or remain in books, but it needs to be transformed to make a difference to humanity. And basically, if you don't have the time to read all this, it's important just to see that the knowledge base, we are looking for knowledge based economy with high value, and there must be community participation. We would like to address wealth and income disparities, all right, to reduce the inequity divide. And we want a united, prosperous, and dignified nation to make Malaysia united, prosperous, and dignified, and to be the economic center for Asia. So even if we look at shared prosperity vision of the country is looking for impact. So if that is the case, COVID-19 pandemic basically has taught us that in order for the country to remain resilient, we need science to power our economy post COVID-19, right? And to ensure Malaysia remains competitive globally, the government continues the efforts. Every RMK, yeah, the government continue to mainstream science, technology, and innovation as a driver of economic growth in its transformation plans, right? So this hopefully will enable Malaysia to become a high-tech nation by 2030 and a developed country based on knowledge as well as competitiveness. But with the rapid change in technology, with disruptive technology brought by Industry 4.0, we basically need to instill innovation in our industries in order to move productivity and also to enhance societal well-being. Is that the case? This is why I say sometimes, a lot of the times lecturers will say, yeah, I think we're doing so much already. Our industry is the fault of our industry. They are not the one that is moving the area. So bottom line, when we talk about something, it's better that we show evidence. What is actually happening in the country? And evidence, if provided by third party, is even better because sometimes when evidence provided by you, many people will not believe it. So if you look at the innovation imperative, this is the overview by World Bank, and this is done in December of 2020. So just last year, December. What we see here is for the first time, World Bank actually look at what is the innovation that is happening with our industries and compare to the East ASEAN countries. So Malaysia is compared to China, Philippines, Cambodia, Mongolia, Vietnam, Myanmar, Laos, Indonesia, and Thailand. And this orange bar shows that when we talk about innovation, this is innovation. That means in the process of innovation, dia adalah sedikit inovasi yang berlaku. So that means this Malaysia is quite good in that, in the process. They never change the final product, but the process of producing that product, they do make some changes. So this is the orange thing. But what's very important, if truly we want to become a high-tech nation by 2030, we need to be producing our own companies that have our own indigenous technology, people. And what we are seeing here amat memalukan dalam semua all these countries, right? Look at the blue bar. Malaysia is the lowest despite all the money, the grant money that the government is now giving for us to do R&D, all right, we are the lowest among all the East Asia. I mean, Myanmar pun lebih tinggi daripada kita. Hello. So this allows, as far as indigenous technology, right? And this is percent of firms that spend. Of course, if you don't have your own engineers technology, how can the firm spend money on R&D? We are not. And that's why 98% of Malaysia's company are still SME. But if you look at how good we are at bringing in, adopting and adapting outside technology and make it like into Malaysia, very high. So we are very good at adopting and adapting outside technology, but very poor in producing our own indigenous technology. This is simply not on. If a country wants to now move to become a high-tech nation, we gotta be like Korea with their own like LG, Samsung, This the kind that we need to have, right? So we cannot afford to continue with weak academia industry linkage. And this innovation chasm that is between the knowledge generator and and the users of knowledge. Knowledge generators are people like us in the university, and users of knowledge are the industry and the community. There is a big gap, all right, and this is called the innovation chasm. This is happening since Six Malaysia Plan lagi. The government has recognized that the largest source of R&D wealth actually came from the public universities, right, the public sector. But unfortunately, everything is remaining here. It is not transferred to the industry. And this is also a report by the World Bank that unfortunately there is no or lack of transfer, and as a result, indigenous technology that is now discovered by the public sectors, which is mainly the public universities, are not basically transferred to the industry, nor is it transferred to the community. So the innovation chasm resulted in economic disparity and a lack of impact, and therefore, we need more engagement between academia and industry in a collaborative manner. And we also need a policy from higher education to now say all vice chancellors make sure the KPI of the university is to actually link academia with industry and not just simply say, oh, we must do academia industry linkage, but the KPI is something else. So, and when KPI down to the VC is something, the VC will cascade that KPI also to the lecturers, and as a result, you find that promotion is not due to academia industry linkage, but promotion is due to publication. So there is a need to create seamlessness between R&D priorities and economic development. In short, there must be a policy. If not at KPT, there must be a policy from MOSTI or somewhere that can now link R&D priority to economy. Only then can we now create an impact. So the question then you need to ask is that if this is known since Six Malaysia Plan, zaman jahiliah already, why do we now continue to allow this to happen? So this is a question. Now to connect basically academia to industry and move knowledge and innovation-based economy, we need to do research with outputs of publication, number of graduates, etc. But more importantly, also with the creation of outcome. The problem is that we stop here, but we did not move to the creation of outcome or impact. So COVID-19 has taught us that for the economy to survive and recover, it has to be powered by technology. So, but we need to work in a collaborative ecosystem with new business model and constant foresight to remain competitive. Therefore, if you ask me where is research heading for the future, it is going to be impact-driven research. This is the way forward to move Malaysia's high-tech industry and at the same time enhance the quality of life of the rakyat, which is high touch. Malaysia's high-tech industry, high-tech, high touch, right? So with the rakyat. So impact-driven is research results that have gone beyond academia. This is something that you must realize because all this while, everything you do, you are working within the academia community, but it now has to go beyond academia. It has to go to the community and it must be demonstrable. So impact is not about how to develop the vaccine, about finding what is the discovery of the biomarker. This is more of fundamental research, FRGS, to make the vaccine. But impact is now about whether the newly developed vaccine was able to reduce the spread of the disease among the population. So this is now more results driven. And usually there are two types of research impact that we see, academic impact and socio-economic impact. So in academic impact, this is the same old that we've been doing with the publications and the journals and the writing of books and how many graduate students that we produce, etc. But we need to now go for socio-economic impact, and this must be outside of the area of academia. So when we talk about academic impact, yeah, this is usually demonstrable contribution to academic impact include the dissemination of knowledge via the conferences that you attend locally and internationally, the publication that you do, the impact factor or no impact factor, and then the research group seminars that you do. So the above activities are some things that you can count, but are they enough to create a tangible change in society or economy of the country, right? This is not enough. Why? Because everything that you do here, where do you present this conference? Where do you publish this? And who reads this and deliver all this? All these are within the academic community. It does not go beyond academia. So post COVID-19, finally we have an online webinar like today, whereby when you share this on the Facebook, then the public can listen to what I have to say and not just people who register for the conference. Now, ada juga hikmah from COVID-19, di mana all various talks now is online and people can now be listening in and showing, and basically now we're showing democratization of knowledge. What I need to emphasize is what Einstein had to say, not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. So this is something that we need to see in relation when we talk about impact. So if that is the case, ladies and gentlemen, why do in the university, why do we continue to do academic impact? Because very simple, it's very convenient, easier to do, easier to measure, easy to write annual reports, easy to report to KPI to the ministry. It's an easy thing, yeah. But doing something intangible is banyak leceh, and that is something that administrators do not like to do. So, and therefore it's easier to say just merits for promotion are still by means of publication. But the question is, as a university, who are we trying to educate? Are we just educating the peers, or are we educating the public, or are we educating the student? Actually, it's both peers, public, and also students, right? So most of the time, when asked regarding impact, we would show expected impact, not real impact. Like for example, if the vaccine is expected to reduce the spread of disease by XX, because we did this in the lab, right? And we did a small sample and we say, yeah, this is what it is. But essentially, it's not being stress run the way it is now being done in the world with across population. So if we continue to do this, the rakyat will not benefit from the research that we do. To them, we have not yet created a sustainable change in their life nor livelihood. So basically, Usim will not be a nadi to nilai nor to ampang if this is not done in terms of impact. So industries also do not benefit from the research that you do. So let us be reminded that as researchers, our responsibility or amanah as knowledge generator is basically to contribute and enhance wealth creation and societal well-being. So we need to create knowledge for change. That is the key word now, not just simply knowledge, but knowledge for change. And we need both the impact factor and real impact to do so. So perhaps, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to decouple, right? The mentality must be there to decouple research impact and university excellence for better outcomes, right? This single-minded pursuit of ranking-driven research measures, when we have that, and the university is going towards that as far as recognition is concerned, we not only risk compromising on quality education, but also on delivering research impact that matters. So this is a quote that I brought from Star 16 May on Teachers' Day, done by Professor Elizabeth Lee, the CEO of Sunway Education Group, right? Because all this while, when we talk about ranking and we are moving the university towards ranking, ranking does not cater very much for teaching and learning. And yet, that is the true north of the university. How do we educate the future generation of Malaysia? So basically, in Malaysia, we already are quite brilliant in the sense that we have Myra for R&D and we have Setara for academic. But of course, there are clever people who say, let's combine them together sebab supaya kita tidak kelabur asap and we just do once. Yang ni senang. Again, senang for administrator, but essentially clouding the issue of what should be the true north of a university. So we should not talk about research excellence because research excellence is research with impact. And sometimes with impact, it's deviating from you moving up in the ranking. But university excellence is about teaching and learning. And if you concentrate very much on the university ranking, then teaching is just left behind. And yet, this is very important because it's no longer about teaching, it's now about learning. How do we make the future generation learn? So, this is now things that need to now be looked into. So, in terms of socio-economic impact, This is imperative that we perform impactful research in the real world rather than simply within the academic community. And this is the responsibility or amanah of universities and academia to help with Malaysia's economic recovery plan. We need to now provide real impact and not just expected impact. And that would mean that we need to work with the quadruple helix. We need to work with academia, industry, government, civil society, right? And to do that again calls for integrated collaborative research approach via community engagement that will provide the impact that matters since we are providing real impact solution to those in need. And this is what I mean by bringing research solution to the community. And research excellence must go beyond the academic community to give wide-ranging impact to a broader society. And only then can we now achieve knowledge for change. And this is the word, community engagement. It means libat sama community, not community involvement, as what I'm reading in the USIM in the website. So basically, community engagement, ladies and gentlemen, is a two-way street. You transfer knowledge, at the same time, you need assimilation of knowledge as well. It is a two-way street. As much as we bring solution to the community, we also learn from the community because as the African proverb says, it takes a whole village to educate a child. It's not just about learning in the classroom, it's also learning from the environment, from the community. So this is where we say humility is very important, that we do a two-way street and not knowledge transfer. Knowledge transfer is I know everything, I therefore transfer this knowledge to you. So there's a lot of things that if whoever is in charge of Libat Sama community should now have a proper, correct perspective of what community engagement is all about. And that is why community engagement is part of the higher education blueprint, bukan community involvement, community engagement. This is where we provide how to use the fishing rod and not just give the fish. Okay, it is not the job of the university. Boleh lah, universiti nak pergi bawa perah, tepung, gula masuk kampung ni. So, okay, you can do that. That's community service. All right, but that's not what university is all about. When university goes into a village or kampung, it's about to teach them how to do things so that when you leave, all right, then people will now benefit from the knowledge that you have imparted to them. So this is now more important than just provide the fish, yeah. Because if the day you no longer provide the fish, then the villagers will basically die because they're still waiting for you for food, right? So you got to teach them to be independent. After all, that's what the university is all about. And therefore, the impact of this community engagement is actually like economic transformation of the community, which is easier to measure, but more important is the experiential learning on values and character building as we now, for the staff as well as for students, as they now go into the community and start to create a sustainable change, because these are intangibles like attributes that you now need to see happening, right? But beyond that, of course, every time I give this talk, the lecturers will still ask me, so how can we measure impact? So the impact can be measured at least by 10 indicators of change. Satu, if you come in before, there was no understanding or awareness about subject X, and when you leave, there's now increased understanding and awareness. That is also one way to measure impact. Second is change in attitude, or very simple is of course economic change, also social change or cultural change or policy change. Or do you see an enhanced health and well-being after you have come in? Or do you begin to see decision-making behavior change among the people in the village or something like that? And do you see now capacity of preparedness? Do you see an environmental change? So these are some of the indicators that you can use to measure impact. But in reality, right, in reality, if you ask the lecturers, where are we? Basically, we are here, right? Most you are given KPI, and in terms of research, you have to do grants, you have to do get grant, do graduate supervision, write journals, papers, produce prototype, and by the time you do all that, you get very tired already. And yet, the role of academic or your amanah is actually generator of knowledge, dissemination of knowledge, and translation of knowledge. To translation ni ada dua, satu kepada community and satu lagi kepada industri. So kepada industry is business enterprise, and kalau this is for creating wealth for the country, but to the community is about enhancement of societal well-being. So again, basically you need to persevere and pass through this and go now to the next gate, which is the commercialization gate that with field trials and clinical trials and field testing and of course the production of patents, and this in order for you to now deliver the KIP, right? So basically you need perseverance to continue to do this. And again, even for those yang lemah semangat ni, memang sentiasa tired every time you have to do this. So you got to be more cekal, people, if you want to now be a successful lecturer that has actually done and deliver the amanah that is given to you. So basically, for the first time, in order to make sure that academia and industry work together, the STI priority for R&D is now linked to socio-economic development. So for the first time, the national STI policy for the country, which is launched on December 8, 2020, officially links science and technology driver to socio-economic driver for value creation. So to make this work and how to glue this together and create impactful research is by 1010 Malaysian STIE framework. So basically the 1010 My STIE framework, you can download the book. There are more than 3,000 people already downloading the book, and this 1010 My STIE now UK, US, or Australia all are asking about 1010. How? So that they can also create that kind of thinking. China, especially their countries as well. So the concept and idea of 1010 My STIE is mooted by Academy of Sciences Malaysia, so I'm very proud of that. And it's approved by the National Science Council in February 2020, approved by Cabinet in August of 2020, and launched as a policy for the country December 8, 2020. This, I think, is among the fastest that I've seen to go from February to December from, of course, thinking itself about 1010 takes some time, about 1 or 2 years. But to come, well, once this gone to the National Science Council, chaired by the Prime Minister, um, by February, then by December it is already launched, and it is now part of, inshallah, part of the RMK12. So it's very important that USIM lecturers understand about 1010, because that's where the funds are coming. Even today, the funds from Malaysia Grand Challenge is to realize the 1010 My SDIE. So essentially, you're going to ask me, like, what exactly is this 1010 My SDIE? Kau tak pernah dengar lagi. Basically, how do we derive at the 1010? Basically, we did the study of emerging science, engineering, technology by ASN, and we found this is foresight study that we do from up to 2050 to see what kind of technologies will be there up to 2050. We find that there are about 94 technologies. I mean, since you don't even remember what you ate last night, how do you remember 94 technologies? So basically, we then say, okay, let's now align it to the national priority. Let's look at the research capability of our lecturers, analyze the emerging and declining technologies, especially the global patent analysis, because we need to know from the global patent analysis, it's not about the patent attained, but rather the patent file, because that will show you what are the technology that people are now filing, and that will be the technology of the future. So when we do all that, that's how we come to 10 technologies. So the 94 technologies can now be clustered into 10 technologies, right? And basically, these 10 technology are 5G, 6G. Let's not talk 4G now. This is 5G, 6G, sensor technology, 4D, 5D printing, advanced material, advanced intelligence system, cyber security, augmented analytics and data discovery, blockchain, neurotechnology, and bioscience technology. So basically, anybody working on biotech, you are safe, because under bioscience technology is all covered here. And driving this 10 technology is not something to be quibble about, because this will be the science and technology that will be there for the future. That if our industry is now working on this technology, inshallah, the industry will still be sustainable up to at least 2050. And driving what? So we say now post-COVID-19, there are 10 Malaysia socio-economic drivers that will deliver a fast post-economic recovery. And one is energy, business, culture, arts and tourism, medical and healthcare, smart technology system, next generation engineering for manufacturing, smart cities and transportation, water and food, agriculture, education, environment, and biodiversity. So this and how do you use this 10-10? So a lot of times, every time I ask, dah pernah dengar dah. Bila nak semua apply, wallahi. So basically, what this is about is that if you are working, okay, how do you read this? Huh? If you do a horizontal analysis, if you are a center of excellence and working on 5G or 6G, basically that technology can drive any of the 10 socio-economic driver. Energy boleh, finance boleh, culture boleh, medical boleh, etc. etc. So, but in order to make this technology work, you gotta move fundamental and apply together. This 10-10 is not about just driving apply. It's about fundamental to drive apply to the next level, right? So this, in order to do all this, it also means that you got to work collaborative. This is not just USIM alone. It has to be USIM with other universities as well in order to deliver the 5G, 6G. All right, and working on all this aspect means this has to go beyond USIM already. It has to be a collaborative effort among universities, among the region, and also among industries working on the particle physics. And however, if you want to work on vertical analysis, that means you pilih, for example, to work on agriculture and forestry, all these 10 technology is needed in order to drive the agriculture industry. And again, we are looking now for return of value and not just return of investment, ROI, ROI, ROI. Where is value? So basically, we need to see return of values as well. So this is where now you have to work with integration of knowledge with the all the various disciplines, sciences and other disciplines all come together in order to provide solution to agriculture. So basically, how do you use the 10-10? I have put all the 10 technologies here. So basically, if you now don't want to think and you just say, okay, if you want to catch up on agriculture, yeah? Because we have, if you download the book, all the 10 areas, socio-economic area will have this map. They will be, Academy has already done what are the things that we need in order just to catch up with the world. So we need drone-enabled precision farming or smart plants with embedded biosensors or what. Basically, each white thing that you see here is a big cluster that you need to work on. This is not about providing solution to all of this, but pilih any of these solution that will be. But you can also do your own. This is just telling you if you want to catch up, we need drone-enabled precision farming. Kalau mati akai tak tahu macam mana nak mula, so at least this is without thinking, we'll be telling you drone-enabled precision farming. To do that, you need to combine technology 1, 5G, 6G, technology 5, which is advanced intelligence system, and technology 7, which is data analytic. That's how you read this. So these numbers here bukan nombor ekor, tetapi adalah nombor teknologi ya, 6, 9, and 10 if you want to do enhanced control. But if you want to leapfrog the area of agriculture, we need to go on automated precision farming, machine to machine communication via 6G network. InsyaAllah takkan berlaku lah sebab we don't even have the 6G yet. But this is where the R&D is needed in order for us to be able to catch up. So these are areas that we show to you that you need in order to move agriculture to the next level. And if we want to now be able to leapfrog the technology. And whatever you develop here, if possible, ask the question, how can agriculture and forestry innovation that we now do be integrated to other sectors as well? Like, for example, drone, which is probably in the engineering, can now be used in medicine because now we can use drone technology to now find people who are trapped in the mountains, etc. Or drone can now be used to spray pesticide, etc. So now you see how the drone technology from engineering is now transferred to a lot of the other sectors as well. So the spillover is something that we look forward to. Like, for example, if you use artificial intelligence to drive the rubber plantations in China, so all this is now you see there are no workers necessary, and artificial intelligence is there. You just tune it, and they actually produce the latex. They cut the bark at a precise manner at the right time with the sensors to tell temperature, climate, when is the best time for latex. But we in Malaysia, makcik akan keluar, pakcik akan keluar pagi selepas subuh. We don't know, don't care whether the weather is and the climate, the temperature is good enough at that time to have the best amount of latex to yield latex, right? But here with all the sensors, they will tell you, and this is when the machine actually does the cutting. See how fine the cut is being done so that the tree is not you don't destroy the tree. So, and all this now, the rubber is collected here, and all this can now go straight to the repository. So you no longer need any human being to run this. The human being is waiting in the factory to actually do more things with the rubber. So this is how artificial intelligence can now be used to drive the rubber plantation in China. And this is all remote controlled, right? You don't have to be there. And we then show to you there are niche areas, simply cannot be in any area ikut suka you, but this is in the 10 niche area. So like for example in energy, at least 3 niche areas are here. In medicine, digital health, precision medicine, and clinical trial. For agriculture, we're looking at high value seafood, premium, local agriculture, and all that. So these are all approved already by the National Science Council, and this will be the first one that will go up. So basically, working on this area will allow you to get the grants under RMK12 or even currently under Malaysian Grant Challenge. So these are the niche area, and these niche areas will be reviewed every 2 or 3 years to make sure Malaysia catch up with the world market. But I would like, since you are USIM, I would like to share with you how we use the 10-10 actually to drive the halal industry in the country. Basically, the same thing, the technologies are here and halal. Yeah. Basically, if you now apply 10-10 My SDIE framework for the halal supply chain, if you want to catch up with the halal supply, you can do neuro marketing of halal product or dynamic predictive digital advertising or blockchain-driven Islamic finance services, fintech, virtual banking, all these are FAM. Kalau boleh tengok, combine together dengan from the IT group, end-to-end halal compliance and traceability via blockchain. So all these ideas that academy has put together is something that USIM can think about and after that start to work on and make it even better. But again, these are the technologies that we see you need in order to put this. So meaning to say, if it's not there in USIM, you got to work with the universities and the labs that have this. So that's what I mean by collaborative. And this is where now your TNC, PNI, your RMC, whatever, the connectivity that they have with the other universities so that you now know which labs in Malaysia is doing this and so that you can now get together with that lab. All right. And then if you now want to leapfrog in terms of halal, we can use IoT sensor using nanoparticles and biosensor for rapid halal authentication along the supply chain. Mesti yang kau tak terfikir. But this is something that already is in the pipeline, and people around the world who are working on halal is already moving this. It's just that Malaysia is not able to catch up as yet. So basically, again, for the halal, it's important to see whether it can spill over whatever we have, because whatever we have in terms of traceability in blockchain can also be used for the culture. We can use halal hotels for tourism, etc., etc. So there are many things that we can do here. And basically, Academy, we are trying also to propose for the global halal super corridor to be happening, right? Because this will be a game changer for Malaysia. Like, for example, if you see now blockchain, this is the key to traceability within the supply chain, so that now you can see where and how we get all the materials that is needed to make sure that at the end of the day, halal toiban is there. So we must remember we are now number one as far as halal is concerned, but countries like US, Japan, Korea is already coming in big time. Australia into halal business, all right? And this is a multi-billion dollar, a $1 trillion industry for halal in the future. So basically, they are already using blockchain, and we are still going from place to place verifying. So that's why I say that we need to move big time on halal and do it differently. So basically, the halal we find is the game changer for Malaysia. After doing the 10-10 my SDI, come on, we are from academic science. So academic science, when we look at it, we ask the question, what will be the game changer for Malaysia? Alhamdulillah, what came out is actually halal. And basically you can start with energy for the 10 socio-economic need. Energy for have ethical and clean energy. You can go for business and finance services with the fintech, blockchain for green suku, etc. You can read through this culture, medical, especially halal vaccine, medical therapeutics, and nutraceuticals, all making it to be halal. That is another one towards Sharia compliant. Smart technology system, again, all these things, water and food, memanglah to make sure that there is halal all the way. Agriculture, forestry, and ilmu nakli and akli applies in agriculture, applies everywhere. How do we maintain halal toiban? So basically, all this have shown to us a strong halal ecosystem in Malaysia will translate into several multiplier impacts on the socio-economic drivers. So basically, when we studied the 10-10 My SDIE, what we found that the game changer for Malaysia is actually using the halal, and the strong halal ecosystem will translate into several spillover impact. In fact, semua teknologi ini boleh digunakan untuk drive the Malaysia social economic driver that can create the halal ecosystem. Like for example, halal vaccine, the Islamic culture, and arts for tourism for Islamic countries, including medical tourism and all that. And we find that all this in the halal will spawn new sectors, increasing revenue and enhancing return on value for the rakyat. So if Malaysian halal certification incorporate the global environmental and ethical standards, Malaysia certainly will build its global competitive advantage because we have a very good reputation as far as halal is concerned. And with 1010 My SDIE, it's not enough just to do this in the lab. We have to bring the innovation to the localities. And in order to do that, there's a lot of thinking the academy has done. Because before any product can take off, you have to see whether the ecosystem area is okay or not. So this is where we show you where the universities are, etc. So if you want to move halal, it's very important that you move to the area that we have identified where halal can now take off. So if you download the book, you can study that better, right? So the 1010 My SDIE in every location will actually move each of the socio-economic sectors up the value chain. So in order to realize all this to happen, MOSTI dah sediakan Malaysia Grand Challenge Grant Scheme, which will now cover for all the 10 niche areas, 10 drivers, socioeconomic driver, and that's about 222 million that is now there to move the Malaysia Grand Challenge. So before I end, let me talk a little bit about research opportunity at USIM. This is thinking about USIM and this is my suggestion to USIM. Basically, always when you want to move forward any university, you gotta ask the question. This is now a question that you have to ask post COVID-19, right? You have to ask this question now. What is so unique about USIM? Because now is a highly competitive. If you want to ask the foreign students to come or anybody to come, either by online or whatever, you got to find out what is so unique about USIM. Why would I want to go to USIM? All right. So therefore, you got to ask about what is the strategic differentiator for USIM. So if you ask me, having been in USIM before, and now in UIA, I will have to say that the integration of Nakli and Akli knowledge is a strategic differentiator that moves USIM to the next level. Because if College Genius is listening, the curriculum that College Genius have now incorporated for curriculum on Islamic science to generate the future Muslim technocrats, hopefully the future Nobel laureates, are basically the curriculum the first in the world. I don't know the USIM realize this or not, but from our point of view, when we have ISTIC and when we have the people from Morocco coming in to evaluate college masa tu mata insan, and they evaluated the curriculum, and the report given to the ministry is that this is the first in the world curriculum. So it's very important that USIM actually get the students from college genius, hopefully when they have a PhD, when they come back from anywhere, so that they can also become a lecturer at USIM, if not a lecturer at ISI, because they will be the student who is very much has been trained in the integrasi of ilmu nakli and akli. The current pensyarah at USIM, I don't think so, because all of you come back from your different discipline. Quran Sunnah disiplin dia, medical disiplin dia, dental disiplin dia. Nobody is teaching you about integrasi ilmu nakli and akli. But the students from college genius are actually the ones that is the benefactor for the things that is put together. Secondly, of course, being an Islamic university, you are values-based education that you cannot forget. You are values-based, virtuous to create abra or whatever that you want. The third thing that is uniquely yours is Islamic science. All right. So again, that I see. And the whenever we wanted to defend before when I was there, wanted to defend even for the hospital for USIM. The of course the ministries, the EPU will ask, what is the difference between a hospital USIM and a hospital daripada universiti-universiti lain? Why should we now fund the hospital for USIM? Well, my answer was that it is about the Sharia compliant hospital, which we don't have. So this is the word, buzzword that USIM should already know if you want to defend to EDU, to make you different, to make you a strategic differentiator. So Sharia compliant. And the last one that I would like to suggest is to move halal science under ISI or under USIM, because we don't have people in halal science to drive the halal industry. And if we don't have the halal science, we cannot catch up. The halal industry from Malaysia simply cannot catch up with what's happening, with the competition that is happening in the world. Apa difference? Yeah, everybody who is in medicine or in health or in science and technology, FST, whatever that you do, just think towards Sharia compliant, towards halal, making sure it's halal toiban. That in terms of thinking itself will now change whatever you do now towards halal, yeah, and move the halal industry. So that is me, and therefore my suggestion is to have the integration of ilmu nakli and akli, whereby actually in USIM you have three tracks: the Islamic studies, the Quran and the Sunnah, and then we have the Islamic, the arts, the social science, and the humanities. And then we have the Islamic science, engineering, technology, health, medicine, dental, and architecture. Perhaps all these things, minta maaf kalau saya lupa apa dah dia punya abbreviation tu. But this excellence in the three tracks, if we talk about multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, or even transdisciplinary, and moving towards Sharia compliant, bukan nak kata Sharia compliant lagi, moving towards pun, insyaAllah you will be ahead already. Halal science to drive halal industry, and of course on the platform of Islamic science, inshallah, maybe what you aim for to be a high impact global Islamic Science University by 2022 is something that perhaps is achievable. And I hope to remind that global means offering local solution to answer global problems, right? So basically, you only have to do the research once. It's not like doing research for Ummah lain or doing research for local lain. If you were to do that, that means the research quality is not there yet. Basically, like if I were to do on diagnostics, whatever diagnostics that I do will probably solve the solution in Malaysia, but whatever country yang ada typhoid will also benefit from that. So this is what we mean by local, providing local solution to answer global problems, right? So that is what Usim wanted to be, as I read in your website. But basically, I like to bring back this. I like this slide. This is a slide that I use all the time when I was at USIM. And I like the word from Gontor, that I picked up. Hidup hanya sekali, biarlah ia berhenti. So that to me is powerful in terms of creating impact. And I've always used pioneering Islamic science where we spearhead knowledge because this will be new knowledge, new perspective when we start to approach it via integration of ilmu nakli and akli. So, ladies and gentlemen, I end by saying my prayers for USIM so that it can now be a distinguished, wrong spelling here, distinguished Islamic Science University that can transform and create value for the country, Ummah, and humanity. That to me is more powerful in terms of where USIM can now be heading towards. So, with that, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And Selamat Hari Raya Aidilfitri. Back to you, Fazli. Hello? Hello, Fazli?
Okay.
So I'm talking to myself.
Sorry. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I forgot to open unmute me. Alright, mashallah, tabarakallah. Thank you very much, Bro Datuk, for the eagle eye, bird eye inspirational sharing, right? Especially you have ever thinking about Usim and has given us some suggestions, the strategic differentiator, right? What Usim is and was supposed to be. Right, I've seen our audiences from KGI, right? So somewhat product has summoned their names. I was expecting they are posting some chats, some questions on chat, but right. I think it's quite overwhelming for some, so I'll just allow some lag time for questions to be posted. I'm looking forward to. It's not here. It's not there yet. So I'll just maybe the thing is, a keyword to us put on the table, right? Is out of silo. We have to collaborate. So even if it's not there in Usim, you just have to find it. It's like you just have to match the thing needed, right? The thing needed in the drive for knowledge for change, right? 10 to 10, my STIE is a mapping which have been done by the Academy of Science. We're so thankful of the Academy, and as Dr. S said, this is the fastest so-called like policy that has been endorsed by the government from February 2030, December 2020. So the 10 month, right? It's quite uncommon for the government to have been able to do such thing. All right, and it's our social responsibility as now post-COVID outbreak is outbreak anywhere is a risk everywhere. We are in this situation, MCO, and it's gonna be BKP back again, right? So you just have to like open up your uh, uh, perspective towards doing research, right? Because it's all about the amanah, okay, of an Islamic university and the Khalifah in you, right? The Khalifah in you, right? And Alhamdulillah, because as Dato has mentioned, our government has already put aside 1.04% of the GDP for RNI, right? And one of it is in the area I've picked up from within this COVID situation that there's talian prihatin, right? To really get to our B40s, be able to get to acquire the uh, uh, connection, internet connection. Now no more 4G, it's 5G to 6G, Alright, so that's the area of research that you need to really venture into. And I am very sure when we talk about this and I start to put up this overwhelming, immense areas that should be picked up. Okay, those people in Quran and Sunnah will like so overwhelmed with it, right? And then where do I fit in? Where do I fit in? So that was mentioned, it's right from the fundamental, right? Right from the fundamental up to the high end technology. So
Yeah.
that's where the whole so-called pipeline of the research RNI that needs to be gated. All right, and I've remembered actually I posted somewhere on the things that because we have seen this asset, okay, the emerging science and technology before when at KGI, Prof. Jeffrey Mali has Prof. Dr. Jeffrey Mali have already shown us the slide on the STI, right? On the asset, and I've in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, and he has told Pemata Insan that neuroscience is an independent, integrated field, okay, for Pemata Insan or for genius insan to prospect. And Alhamdulillah, many of the Pemata Insan students has came to have neuroscience in mind, neuropsychology, brain mapping, up to identifying the relationship between speed of hafazan and its disjunction with mathematical logics among their colleague, to set their research endeavor. So we can see the future there.
It's part of
So
intent.
yeah, so I'm so excited to see the prospect, the future from KGI. So I really like to find. Okay, there's a question from the audience. All right. Uh, in your opinion, Dato, okay, why is it Malaysia has a very low innovative product output? Okay, from Liana Azmi.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thank you for the question. Essentially, it's not about low innovative product output, but rather low indigenous technology output. So basically, innovative product here is using our own technology. And I think I have already explained the reason why we have that is because of the innovation chasm. That most of the patent, the most of the ideas to create indigenous technology lies with the public sector, which is the university, but the lecturers do not bawa transfer that because of the lack of that's what we mean by innovation chasm, the lack of academia industry linkage. So when we are not working with the industry, we basically prefer just to publish about the technology and we don't work with the industry, then the industry do not benefit from that technology that we have discovered. So because of that, that is why we have a low innovative product output that is of indigenous technology. But as far as product using adaptive technology that we bring the technology from foreign and then we put it together, banyak, very high. You see, Malaysia is among the highest that we show in that World Bank punya analysis. Malaysia is among the highest. So we have money to actually bring other people's technology and then put together. But our own, we don't. And we don't do that. And one of the reasons for the innovation chasm is the lack of trust between academia and industry. And that is something I think that needs to be remedied quite fast. And I mean, every branch of every university is there in terms of your holdings, instead of that, to be able to allow the working with the industry. But for some reason, well, most of us are not familiar, and that's why we are not working in the industry. And that is why in the transformation of the university, we have already encouraged university to hire lecturers from the industry. So that mindset dia pun akan tukar. And that or even have adjunct lecturer from the industry, so that dapat memberi manfaat sedikit tentang apa manfaat lah tentang bagaimana we should now be thinking when we are designing our research so that it is can benefit the industry as well. So itulah because of that innovation chasm, and that is why I think when we presented this to the National Science Council, ministers were also asking, for top down, enough is enough lah. That academia continue to not to work with the industry, the lack of trust. Enough is enough. So basically, how do we make it? How do we make them work? And that's why the Malaysia Grand Challenge grant is there to realize 10-10 My SDIE. So maknanya you now have fundamental, and then you now have Malaysia Grand Challenge, fundamental daripada FRGS semua, daripada KPT, and then you have now Malaysia Grand Challenge, MGC, daripada MOSTI. So that you can now create this remember, fundamental is technology readiness level 1 to 2, alright? And then starting from 3 onwards sampai 9 ke 7 ke is all about MOSTI grants. So that now you hopefully will see a seamlessness to move the product across from fundamental, from the laboratory to all the way to the industry, to the community. So that is the whole approach of creating that seamlessness in terms of doing research in the country at the moment.
Okay, there's another question for Muhammad Ash'ari Bain. I think it's Dr. Ash'ari. Our apologies. Okay, with regards to academia to industry linkages issue, it seems that the public universities does not have clear policy for commercialization that can sway industry players to collaborate together. Is there a national policy that the university can refer to for its commercialization purposes? So that's the question.
Okay. I rasa kan daripada segi commercialization policy ada dah. If you are a member of the commercialization, all the university kan ada commercialization IP policy office kan. So every university ada. So we have a society at Ministry of Higher Education. That society of all the directors of the IP policy will be together, and I think they have shared commercialization policy. So this is the time, kalau soalan ni ada, this is the time for USIM to get to USM, get to to be able to get a copy of their commercialization policy and actually try to use it. Collaboration, kata nobody is charging you for this. In fact, kalau tak salah, you pergi check dalam USM punya website. Memang pun ada policy, so that you can share, you can download postgraduate policy on commercialization, pensyarah policy on commercialization, the whole university policy regarding sama ada pensyarah boleh memegang equity ataupun tidak. Semua tu dah ada. I mean, is sometimes saya worry lah bila universiti sendiri tak tahu tentang perkara ni. Is you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Hello, no need to reinvent the wheel. Semua universiti, especially RU, dah memang mantap dengan dia punya polisi. Pinjam je. Masa ni dah kata abang ke kakak ke tolong share kan. Waktu ni lah. And especially USM kan Datuk Musa dah bawa pergi sign MOU dengan USM masa saya di BBC. So kan dah jadi blood brothers tu. Bila lagi? Bila tak? USM. So boleh je share. So tadi I tengok ada Datuk Musa punya soalan. Assalamualaikum Datuk. How are you? Okay, so to Datuk Musa and all the gang, selamat Hari Raya. Maaf saya batin. Okay, your opinion about trend in Malaysian SNT post-COVID. Malaysian SNT post-COVID, I think what we have shown is the 10-10 My SDIE that will be post-COVID for SNT for sure, because that is already part of RMK 12. EPU pun dah insyaAllah akan masukkan dalam ni insyaAllah. So it will become part of RMK 12. In fact, now ASM is now doing more than 80 engagement already with various agencies, various ministries because every ministry nak tengok macam mana 10-10 boleh apply to their ministry. Agriculture nak tengok, defense nak tengok. So we have to show them that has been academy punya work lah since we introduced the 10-10. Malaysia is very good in producing blueprints, but implementation memang problem besar. So rather than that happening and knowing that already, that's why ASM engaged. We have a lot of engagement because every little Napoleon down the line, semua kena faham tentang 10-10. It's not about the bosses faham, tapi the Napoleons tak faham, lagi lah apa pun tak jadi. So we are going down to even the chief ministers, the head of state, the corridors, the Eastern Northern Corridor, all these, all the agencies, step by step, EPU, JPA, semua kita kena sediakan dan engage dengan dia orang so that more people understand. Now dia faham macam mana nak incorporate dalam dia orang punya policy, dalam dia orang punya policy important lah for them, for each ministry to now make sure that this happen. So because the kefahaman tu ada, like KKM for example, work together dengan academy dan juga dengan KPT untuk hasilkan precision medicine. So Datuk Musa, the future dalam one of the future SNT is to move the 10-10 and one of the project besar yang akan move will be precision medicine. That is one. But precision biodiversity is also another one. And that's why we also are trying to move halal big time. In fact, we are moving 4 in terms of the country. One is in halal, the other in the terms of iConnect halal. Satu lagi is digital healthcare, digital 4IR for manufacturing, and fintech. So satu lagi fintech. Fintech is another one that we did the foresight. So FAM, bila lagi yang nak play a big role. I don't know whether FAM is listening or not. So fintech is a word that you want to be able to now drive. So that's what I said, Fazli, as far as I'm concerned, USIM should be able to move towards Sharia compliant or even halal. Because like I said, if USM was doing halal, ramai orang kata biar betul ni. Tapi kalau macam USIM says we are doing halal, then insyaAllah Quran dan Sunnah and all those come in will make sure things are halal. But this is where USIM lacks probably the high-tech lab. So you collaborate sekarang ni dengan USM, dengan the ARUS, but you lead because it is a halal, ke arah syariah compliant ataupun ke arah halal, moving halal science. So it's not about, macam Fazli kata, nganga mana Quran dan Sunnah nak masuk dalam ni. I think Quran Sunnah plays a very big role, especially when we did the formal dengan susu kambing. That's a $5 million grant before. So without Quran Sunnah, we cannot move. But we need the scientists to ask the questions so that now Quran Sunnah will now be able to show what is actually there, apakah hadis kata and all that. It's very important because Islamic science is premise there is different when we do research compared to the normal secular research. So this is that's why I said bila you tanya where am I going to be able to come in, that means we are still discipline mode, we are still silo mode kan. Masih duk tanya kat mana we can come in. But if we say we are working in a collaborative ke arah syariah compliant, ke arah halal science ataupun halal thayyiban, there's no problem because working together would do this. And people right now, RST in USIM should be able to collaborate dengan Quran Sunnah to produce now halal diagnostics ke, halal therapeutics ke, halal nutraceuticals ke. So macam-macam yang boleh dilakukan. Like I said, is like for example, for those in medicine, if you are trying to make something like diagnostic, for example, and you're trying to make it to halal, the first thing you have to see the entire process. So, kat mana yang ada kontaminasi with porcine? Probably, if you're growing the bacteria, is probably from the media itself. So, change the media to get media yang halal. After all, we did the USM, we did the collaboration with Cuba to hasilkan halal meningococcal vaccine so that we can use for pilgrimage to Mecca. And Jakim has already gone to Havana, Cuba and actually checked. And memang betul boleh dilakukan dengan cara halal because we change the media. So, but when you start thinking halal, then your procedure is just a matter of adjustment to make sure that it becomes halal. All right, so that can be done. And the beauty of it is that if you work with science computer, it can blockchain the process. Then that means you trace every part, tak ada kontaminasi. So that's why from A to Z of that product is now going to be halal toiban. So that is the whole thinking concept yang sekarang kena ada, not the same old way of doing things lah. So insyaAllah, I hope lah to hear soalan-soalan yang how do you want to move this in the country. Yeah.
Okay, we have questions from actually big shots ni. I was expecting from KGI students, right? Okay, from Prof. Sharifuddin. Beyond ranking and rating of universities and all the boundaries and that IPT need to follow. So how to make IPT relevant in the real world? To silent.
Soalnya saya dah how to make it relevant. First thing is to mainstream KPI and KIP.
Yeah.
Saya rasa you tak boleh kata forget about publication. Tak boleh. Publication is part of journey of quality and part journey of excellence. So publication kena ada. Sebab saya katalah amanah kita adalah untuk generate knowledge which is by doing research. Kita disseminate knowledge dengan cara mengajar ataupun dengan cara publication ataupun cara tulis buku. But we have to do the third one to translate that knowledge into something beneficial. Sebab itulah yang diperlukan bila kita mati nanti, itu yang ditanya. Alright, what have you done with the knowledge? That is what wisdom is all about. Right, so basically, if we now do things right, and we say mainstream KPI and KIP, itu tak payah tunggu KPT nak cakap kat you, VC pun boleh cakap kat you. Right, because that is the essence of a university. So, janji top management agree, janji pensyarah agree that we want to mainstream KPI and KIP as what we do in UIA. So, tak ada apa, halas. Tapi kalau nak query lagi, nak apa lagi, then, direction of the university banyak ada dalam tangan top management. So, what is going to be unique for USIM can also be by top management to now say what is going to be unique for USIM, right? So, like I said, you cannot say tak payah publish, tak payah ni. It's just that jangan terlalu single-mindedness, wanting to move ranking, that you have forgotten about the true north of what university is about. So that's why saya kata bila kita kelabu asapkan dengan adanya follow rankings terbanyak, saya rasa macam kita dah kelabu asap. Kita lupa sekarang ni what is the true north of the university. The true north university, satu is university excellent, satu lagi is research excellent. Research excellent, end game dia, it has to create impact. Bukan setakat publication saja. Tapi bila kita kelabu asapkan between university ranking dengan yang tu, then becomes and end game, age index, citation, impact factor, nampak tak? Right? So what happened to training and nurturing of future Malaysian generation yang kita nak to be of good citizenry, that balance between ilmu nakli and akli, balance between, as the blueprint says, balance between akhlak dan ilmu. That is what we need to have a future generation for Malaysia that is entrepreneurial, that is global mindset. So all the things that we would like our future generation hilang bila kita follow terlalu follow university ranking. So that's why
be shared prosperity, right?
So we have shared prosperity to actually guide us. And dalam dekat Malaysia kita dah pandai lah to separate between Myra dengan Setara. So kita dah buat dah yang kita pergi follow balik, hilang balik jalan tu pasal apa. So itu bagi saya lies with top management tu ni. Because dia ada benda yang kita boleh tunggu KPT, tapi ada benda yang within our power sendiri. And plus KPT dah bagi autonomi kepada universiti, right? So bila yang nak guna autonomi ni? Tu soalan sedap saya cakap.
Okay, there's a question from Prof. Adan and Prof. Radi. So I couple that question because it relates to each other, right? Okay, and because you know that ours is the lowest again, lowest in indigenous tag, and our indigenous tag is the lowest so called in that particular bar chart. Okay, so do you think that it is because we are so-called menyanjung tinggi budaya luar, and then another one is it because use of English? Okay, I just say it right.
Dia
Uh,
macam ni, Prof. Adnan. Thank you for the soalan. Bagi saya, it is the lack of trust. Bukan Malaysia punya people tak ada the technology. After all, a Grab is from Malaysian. Tapi oleh sebab kita tak ready. Problem yang Prof. Hanan is our ecosystem. Our ecosystem kadang-kadang tak support. Kadang-kadang kita ada dah mereka yang mempunyai teknologi yang hebat, tapi the ecosystem ataupun the university tak bagi pertolongan, and then bila the university bagi pertolongan, negara pula tak bagi pertolongan, and then becomes like a mosquito bite, like what is something that you can do fantastic, it is just good enough to be a company. Padahal it could be an industry. Should incentives come in, should we allow for sandbox to now facilitate, so semua sekarang ni, insyaAllah saya tak ada masa untuk nak cerita, tapi mereka daripada Academy Science yang jadi fellow dalam USIM patut tahu kita dah lay down all the the groundwork sekarang. Kita ada TCA untuk move economic oriented research. Kita ada Malaysian Science Endowment that can now move this as well, and then all this. So Prof. Adnan, in short, we need an ecosystem. It's not about tak percaya, it's not about kita ni. We need an ecosystem. And that ecosystem, number one, mesti kena ada trust between academia dengan industry. First, mesti ada trust. Bila ada trust, kita kena be able to now to work together. So when we start to work together, then only we can collaborate. Bila kita collaborate, tak kenal maka tak cinta. So bila kita kenal, barulah kita nak transfer kita punya teknologi, dan dia pun nak terima kita punya teknologi. Bila kita dah trust, lawyer kita pula buat problem. Lawyer kita kata, oh, this intellectual property belong to the university, bukan belong to the industry. Pula dah jadi macam tu. So what we need to have is our lawyers also must understand. Industri punya law, memang kalau kita buat apa-apa dengan mereka, intellectual property akan belong to the industry. Tetapi industri itu kita menjadi inventor. So tak salah ibu mengandung, sebab sebagai inventor, we are better off because that industry, once they pump in money, dia akan commercialize that product. Right? So as inventor, we will benefit, and because inventor is linked to the to the university daripada segi royalty, maka universiti pun untung. So benda tu lah saya kena cerita bila saya balik ke USM. Supaya sekarang ni lawyer-lawyer USM pun membenarkan. Now facilitate, senang. Once the legal dah faham cara macam tu, sekarang ni linkage USM dengan industri number one. So that is how we can now work. So the legal pun juga kena look itu. Memanglah legal yang kita hire dekat universiti akan pastikan that universiti lah untung. Tapi sekarang ni kita kena tengok dalam konteks apa. So if the ecosystem, insyaAllah, Professor Adnan, insyaAllah, if the ecosystem now with TCA being up, technology commercialization accelerator, dengan adanya sandbox, all this now will be facilitated to move commercialization, to move economic oriented research, and hopefully our SME can terima sekarang ni and then move up. Satu lagi, Prof. Adnan, among our problem di country is that we do not put enough allocation untuk commercialization. We put a lot of education in fundamental, but not enough in experimental development. So about 24% saja, while other countries kalau nak move must be about 50%. So dalam RMK12, we are trying now to move from 24% up to 50%. Sebab apa, Prof. Adnan? Bila company dah ready nak ambil kata USIM punya teknologi, dia perlu duit, and that duit is coming from the venture cap, all this are coming from that 50% of experimental development. So bila venture cap dapat pump in the money, then you can set up the company, then you can commercialize. Tapi kalau duit pun tak ada, macam mana venture cap nak dapat and then venture cap nak bagi pula dekat you to set up. So essentially is driving to a halt lah. That's why my jawapan Prof Adnan is not about just one or two. It's about the entire ecosystem kena tukar. Selagi ekosistem ni tak tukar, selagi itulah saya rasa we will remain low as far as indigenous technology and maka untuk menjadi high tech nation by 2030 probably will be a fantasy.
Okay, Datuk menjawab sekali Prof Radi punya soalan tadi. Is it because we are not using our own language kan, bahasa pertama kita, just like in Japan, German and US and Korea?
Not about kita punya not about kita punya language. Apa ni? Bahasa mereka adalah bahasa kunci. No, it's not about that. Indigenous technology ini bukan kata kita tidak menghasilkan. Untuk menghasilkan dari segi patent ada. You look at the university, ada RU saja ada 4,000 indigenous technology that is patented. Maknanya ada 4,000. So basically these are ori tau. That's how you can get patent. So we can do that in English, tak ada masalah. The problem is that we need industry to now use this technology so that the industry becomes an indigenous technology industry. That is the whole idea. Bukan the indigenous knowledge tu ada dengan the university. University kena transfer. So that's why bila saya kata the innovation chasm exists, is tak transfer tu maknanya ecosystem is not there ataupun academia industry tak ada yang kuat untuk nak move. So sekarang ni, it can also, now that we need to income generate, this is the time for vice chancellors and whatnot to also encourage academia industry linkage so that we can now commercialize our technology for income generation melalui royalty dan sebagainya.
Okay, I think there's no questions being posed, but I have my own some experience. In 1994, I was we represented Malacca for Pertandingan Tercipta, peringkat kebangsaan. So which I was at Form 4 last time, and our invention was the ampayan automatic. When it rained and then it just pull every single clothes and whatever things that we dry into the shaded area lah. And during that time, 1994, the champion the Johan was Sekolah Agama Simpang 5 at national level. Sekolah Menengah Agama Simpang 5 from Kuala Selangor. It was a sekolah menengah agama, and their invention was actually a microphone that came up from the podium and stops at certain point. So that's the champion during that time, 1994. I only understood how they managed to actually create that innovation is all about the golden ratio. It's about the golden ratio. So how do you determine the microphone can stop at a point where it is it's within the mouth of the of someone who's going to speak, right? So it was in 1994, and we were then called to Bangunan Mara, and we feature every single inventions from that particular pertandingan Reka Cipta lah, peringkat kebangsaan, and everyone was like waiting, what's it gonna be, right? Until I saw that particular technology on the Academy Award stage. So Datuk boleh imagine kan, about 10 to 20 years after that only, it's the technology from Sekolah Menengah Agama Simpang 5 was on Academy Awards stage. I was quite overwhelmed. I think it is from
dekat US
yeah, Academy Awards. Yeah. So I was like thinking that itu memang the technology or the innovations from Sekolah Menengah Agama Simpang 5 because from before that memang tak pernah kita nampak microphone yang came out from the from the stage or the podium. So but I begin to understand that how they manage to do it is through golden ratio. It is from nakli evidence lah kan. So I begin to understand lah how sekolah menengah agama Seri Panjang is very high high performing school lah now. Alright. And also tadi tu about the kids pemata insan being able to foresee neuroscience, neuropsychology and all that. And so as the mapping goes in the asset figure, so I see that it's only nearing 2050 that we will be able to read minds, right? Which we are beginning to realize the translational understanding of Surah Al-Alaq, right? The two final ayat 15 and 16 about nasiyatin kadhibatin khati'ah. So there's only 2050 only where we've met that within 2050 we are able to do this brain mapping, being able to read minds, right, using the technology. So alhamdulillah, walaupun 2050 yeah, still we are able to really translate that.
Prof. Dr. Jeffrey was saying that is the technology foresight up to 2050. Tapi sekarang ni, we find that neuroscience is a technology bawah 1010. Right? It's one of the 10 technologies we want to move forward. So I think you're going to be able to do this mind reading, mind mapping even faster, especially when we start precision medicine. So when we start to move that, everything now needs to be personalized. So we need to have data. And for precision medicine to move, obviously, data is very, very important. So patient data, all that, because we need to now see all genetic makeup of individuals going to be different. How is our drug? Because everything is now moving to personalized medicine for precision medicine to take place. So I'm glad that we are moving to precision because that will mean the infrastructure need to be in place for precision medicine to take place. So inshallah, if the infrastructure is there, then we're moving to 4G, 6G, then we're moving. Itulah sebenarnya to spill over, right? Kalau tidak, tunggu kita akan depend on the telco. We're still at 4G. And then and masih lagi, I think very simple challenge. Bila saya kata learning nak pergi online, right? How difficult it is for student have to come back to the university in order to get online learning sebab dia tak dapat internet. So my question is, kenapa ini tidak menjadi trust R&D? Untuk sekarang ni create, if kalau internet is not the answer, what is your alternative? Is it Li-Fi as an alternative? Not Wi-Fi, but Li-Fi. Can we now do some other alternative in order to have online learning happen? So negara-negara Commonwealth yang miskin daripada kita, semua dah ada online learning happening on alternative. Tapi kita masih depend on internet. You see that online learning can happen via many other modes. Why do you need to use internet? And budak Sabah, budak Sarawak kan susah. So bottom line sekarang ni, why susah? This is the challenge for R&D where we want action-oriented thinking to now provide solution to current problem ni sekarang because you need to go online. Now dengan COVID case makin tinggi, lagi kita dah work from home, right? Berkelahi antara ibu bapa punya work from home meeting dengan anak punya pun nak kena pergi sekolah melalui online. So all those things matters. So this is the solution that we are looking for. So this is something that actually we need to work on lah. And take that challenge rather than waiting for just internet and duk marah kenapa internet duk slow. Setakat marah macam tu ya, but action oriented means do something about it. These are simple solutions that you need to have.
It's societal approach, right? I've always said to Genius Insan before that it should be your backyard problem, right? It's the noblest mindset is backyard problem. You always look at your backyard, what's happening around, right? Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you very much for the talk. So ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this series 5 of lecture science Islamic science lecture, and we thank you so much yang berbahagia Professor Datuk Dr. Asma Ismail for kindness in sharing Thank you everyone for your presence. We hope that you've learned more to make more and share more afterwards. So that's our consumerism motto, right? And so that you'll cascade ilman nafi'an and barakah, streaming barakah ilal jannah. Right. So as I promised, I'll recite two pantun. Okay, to typing ups. Belah berang dan sumbawa bertamu nan indah rasa Nusa Tenggara. Baiklah tuan bawa berilmu, binalah bangsa, bangunkan negara. Sulam dahanan buang burung tempur, mengingin rasa bertamu pagi. Salam perpisahan buat semua, di lain masa bertemu lagi. So that's all for now. It's my original pantun, right? We apologize for any inconveniences of any sort. Another session of this lecture series and discussions. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa 'amilus solihat wa tawassaw bil haqq wa tawassaw bis sabr. Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Barakallahu fikum. Hashtag stay at home. Stay safe. Thank you very much everyone.